Thanks a lot, Bob. It's great to be with you here today, and thanks to Mayor Hanneman and especially to Louise Slaughter. I know she had to go off to work, but during the time I was NEA chairman, she was terrifically supportive and has played an exemplary role as an advocate for the arts over the last several decades. So special thanks to Louise. On behalf of all of us at the Curb Center for Art Enterprise and Public Policy, our offices in Nashville and here in D.C., I want to congratulate Americans for the Arts, Bob and Randy and Roland, and the entire team that developed this national index. I know the index is a culmination of years of work, and I think it represents a kind of fitting capstone to a half-century of growth in the arts here in the U.S. And I think more importantly, it provides a starting point for a new conversation about the value of cultural vibrancy to the quality of life in our democracy over the next 50 years. When it comes to making the case, the arts have always been anecdote-rich and evidence-poor. By combining this wide set of indicators, the National Index provides advocacy with a sharp new set of tools with which to deliver a powerful message to policymakers, especially to those who are not already members of the converted, who are not already true believers. The index provides numbers where we've mostly had stories. And to me, most importantly, it widens the frame that encompasses what we think of as the cultural sector. For the past 50 years, arts advocates have basically looked at 3 or 4 things: federal funding for nonprofits, appropriations for state and local arts agencies, and in-school arts education. That's been our province. Now in Nashville, Tennessee, home to the Curb Center and Vanderbilt, we boast, I believe this is right, Randy or Bob could correct me, more artists per capita than any other city. Is that correct? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But it's mostly songwriters and musicians. It's driven not by the fine arts, but by Music City's scene, Music City's creative scene. And so it's important to see that this new national index counts things like songwriters' royalties, CD and record stores, Broadway theater performance, bookstore sales, artists' union membership, and personal creativity experiences. I think this reframing of the field by the field's principal advocate is sure to be somewhat controversial. After all, the National Arts Index positions the nonprofit fine arts today as a component of a much larger arts sector or arts scene. But I think this reframing is absolutely essential. The National Index engages art, after all, the way citizens do, defining our expressive life in a way that will allow leaders to craft policy that will produce measurable improvements in quality of life. And of course, the index is not perfect. There are going to be many conversations. For me, I think it needs to be expanded. Those of you who know me will be familiar with this argument. Expanded to measure things like how intellectual property law is doing, how fair use is progressing, freedom of expression, regulation of mergers and acquisitions in media, FCC rules on obscenity. There was a New York Times editorial about that this morning. Trade and cultural goods. These are all also factors that affect the relationship between the arts and our democracy. The data in the first report will generate plenty of conversation. You know, if the number of trained artists graduating universities increases quite a bit, but the employment of artists grows just a little, what policies does that suggest we pursue? If students who achieve high SAT scores also study art in school, can we link arts training with academic performance? Or does it just mean that good schools end up offering both arts and great academics? Many other questions will be raised and possibly resolved by AFTA's new index. Now, I can envision 2 immediate positive results from this important work. First, a more inclusive sense of the art sector provides an opportunity to talk about the value of art and art making to quality of life with new authority, the kind of authority we've never had before. A new approach, I think, to cultural policy. And second, this broad array of indicators immediately suggests a new round of community studies. Perhaps they'll grow out of this Kresge grant, but but community studies in which an assessment of arts vitality can lead to truly effective cultural planning at the community level. Now, over the past 5 decades, Americans for the Arts has earned the right to speak with authority in cultural matters. And a new conversation about America's expressive life, based on this broad set of indicators, will help ensure that for the next 50 years, policy in and around the arts will truly serve public purposes. Thank you.